Hello, today I am with Nikki Burnett, and we are here and we are going to be talking about nutrition. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that don't know me, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. This is her talk show. And if you're not already subscribed, well, what are you waiting for? These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about your life.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is her talk show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
If you are listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you drop into the comments and say hello. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. Nikki is a functional nutritionist, health detective, founder of Taste Life Nutrition and creator of SoulFull Conception, PurposeFull Living for a healthy body, a healthy pregnancy, and a healthy baby. This is preconception planning for growing families as well as the future. It also is building community for trusted practitioners to support their preconception journey. She is also the host of Taste Life Nutrition Radio. I love that. And podcast. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. I've been waiting for this, it seems like, for months.
I know. I'm so excited to have you on. I know that we have talked in a few months ago and just had an absolutely fantastic conversation. I love what you bring to the community of humans.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a journey for sure, but getting the word out there and showing people the amount of power that they have in their health is it's really beautiful. It's so much fun.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm very interested to dive into the title that we have here, the language of food, because that food has a language. So I can't even, what does that mean? How did this even come to be?
So I have to apologize because you froze for a minute, but I'm sure I know where you're going is, where did the language of food come from and how is that the thing? And so I say this because it really is what, when I went into nutrition school, I was like, I love health. I love wellness. I love the science. Let's learn all of the good things, but learning that food is not just food, that it actually is what speaks to our cells and our DNA is what really changed my view of health and nutrition and what it is that I put in my body. And of course, what I put on my body, what I put in my environment, all of these things that are we call it our lifestyle, right? This is the stuff that speaks to our cells and to our DNA and is what creates genetic expression. So we can create our own health. We can also create our own dis-ease.
Brilliant. Can you explain that a little bit more? It talks to our cells and our DNA. What does that mean?
Yeah. So to sort of get into the nitty gritty, right? We take in food. We all have this relationship with food, and some of us believe food is amazing. Some of us can't understand why it hurts us so bad. And that's the hard part, is because food is this really beautiful gift from God, right? It's this amazing thing that we get to enjoy all the time, but sometimes we don't, or sometimes we're eating the things that we shouldn't be eating. And those are the things that we would consider non-foods. But when we put food in our mouth and it starts to break down, goes through all of the pathways that it's supposed to go through, the nutrients within is what is speaking to our cells and to our DNA. So if we are eating good, healthy food, non-conventional meat, fruits and vegetables and all these beautiful things that are from the earth, then it sends a really clean, clear line of communication to our body, to our cells, to our DNA. So our body's like, I got this. I know what I'm supposed to do, and let's just go. So we feel good and everything's, going well for the most part, right? If we're eating food, fast food, processed food, conventional meat that's full of, unhealthy fat, if we're eating, I don't really have to go any further, but it's the colorings and the preservatives and all the things that are in our food today that's not food. It sends a broken line of communication to our cells and our DNA, and our body's like, whoa, I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do here now. And, the cool thing is there are a lot of redundancies in the body, right? So we can do that for a while, but over time, what happens? Well, the body starts to send out what's called cell danger response. It's these red flags all over the place. So we get symptoms, fatigue, joint pain, gut pain, brain fog, all of the things that it's sad, but so many of us are dealing with right now. And it's the body trying to tell us, hey, it's knocking on the door going, I need you to help me now because I can't do this on my own anymore. So symptoms come up, they're red flags. And what do we often do? Well, I have a headache. I need to take ibuprofen. Well, I have heartburn. I need to go take an acid blocker. All of these things, we're just dampening our body talking to us when we need to take a step back and think, what is my body trying to tell me? Why do I have a headache? Why do I have acid reflux? Usually it's not because of too much acid. That's what most people think. And so all of these drugs that we're taking, especially, acid blockers could be a whole show in and of itself, but these things are creating much more of a burden on the body than if we were to, whether it's find help or start to listen to the body and find the things that we need that actually address the underlying issue that's causing the symptoms in the first place. So we just need to learn to listen again. We don't listen to our bodies anymore.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You said so much goodness. I don't even know where to start. First of all,
I like it.
I want you to talk a little bit about it not being about acid.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Everyone thinks that. Mm-hmm. So what is it?
Usually it's not enough acid. So we have hydrochloric acid that's in our gut, right? In our stomach. It's meant to break. It's got all of these really cool jobs that it does. So of course it breaks down food, especially proteins, right? What it does though is it keeps bacteria at bay. And so if we're in a world that's full of microbes, which is okay, it's part of it. We are full of microbes. But sometimes we can have these opportunistic or pathogenic microbes that can come in. They can come in, when we're eating food or whatever the case may be. And that stomach acid, when we have enough of it, is what can help us to, it just breaks down those microbes as well. What happens as we age is we tend to lose it. So I don't truly know why. I don't know if it's nutrient deficiencies, whatever it is, but it is something that tends to happen as we age, and we need to continue to build our hydrochloric acid. What we find though is we don't have, as we age, when we don't have enough of the acid, we eat the food and then the body reacts and it sends up too much acid. And you're like, oh man, I have heartburn. I must have eaten something acidic, or I must have too much acid. So when we take the things like the PPIs, even the Tums, I could go off on Tums, but if we take these things and they dampen the hydrochloric acid that we're already lacking, what's happening? We're not breaking down our food. We are not addressing the microbes that are coming in through our food or through our environment. And so if we're not breaking down and utilizing the nutrients, then we're going to be deficient in minerals. Think osteoporosis. We're going to be deficient in nutrients. Think any other, crazy condition that we deal with. And so the interesting and really sad thing is that PPIs are indicated for, I think, 2 weeks. And we have people who are on them for years and years and years. And we wonder why we have this epidemic of osteopenia and osteosarcoma. And then I could come in and say, okay, well, somebody comes to their doctor and says, I have osteopenia, osteosarcoma. Okay, well, you need to take calcium. That's a huge problem too, because our bodies, our bones are not made just of calcium. They're made of all kinds of minerals and trace minerals, and we have to have them, their buddies, their counterparts, their vitamins in order for calcium to know where to go. So if we take calcium by itself, or even calcium with vitamin D or calcium with vitamin K, all by itself, the body's like, all right, well, I'm not sure what to do with this now that you're giving me the supplement that doesn't have all the components that I need to know what to do with it. So what does it do? It sits in breast tissue. It sits in brain tissue. It sits in cardiovascular tissue, kidney tissue, you name it. And so it is problematic that we are told to take so much calcium, and it just goes and it sits where it's not supposed to sit, instead of getting, when we typically get calcium from our diet pretty well, but it's other nutrients that tend to be lacking that are problematic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. While you're on this topic, I want to pivot a little bit and just kind of get your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about buildup and stuff, one of the things that I have heard to help, not that we're trying to like eat whatever you want and then, but in order to clean up the buildup, I guess I have heard that intermittent fasting is a good way to allow your body to kind of reset. What's your thoughts on that?
I love intermittent fasting for the right people. So I think it's great. It goes back to, kind of how we're created, right? We have this habit now, I think, as a society, especially, our Western societies, where it's constantly eating, it's constantly snacking, it's constantly, and what this doesn't, if we're constantly taking in and making the gut work, then it doesn't allow for the flushing out of toxins and microbes that are not supposed to be there. So, we have our guts moving all the time. And this movement, especially when we're not, especially when I'm not speaking well, when there's no food there, pushes out these things that are not supposed to be there. So yes, being empty is a good thing. So yeah, fasting. So it's a great thing. I mean, fasting is historic, right? I mean, it's biblical. We've been doing fasting for eternity, and however long it's been, but it is really smart for the people who can do it. It works. Intermittent fasting itself works really well for men. I think it does work well for women, but it can be really hard on the thyroid. So we have lots of women who suffer with thyroid conditions or Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune thyroid, and it can be harder on the thyroid. We as women are so tricky because of our hormones and our hormone fluctuations. And then of course the hormones that we deal with in the environment and that kind of thing, that if I'm working with someone who wants to do intermittent fasting, and a woman anyway, I will probably tell her, think about doing it during the week, start it up slowly, maybe do it for a few days, and then maybe eat normally on the weekends. And so with one of the questions that came up about fasting, when it comes to like anti-aging and doing periodic 36-hour full fast where you're just doing water or coffee if you need your coffee, those are great for cellular repair, for what's called, the word's escaping me, but it's essentially the cells sloughing off the junk that it doesn't need anymore. So 36 hours has been shown to be really beneficial periodically to fast.
I want to ask a little bit regarding generations.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking earlier about popping pills, Tums, and when you're taught that as a child, along with all of the eating habits, it creates generation after generation of whatever, samesies.
Yeah.
Until somebody steps in. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you've seen and how somebody can step into breaking that cycle.
But what I've seen, so first thing first, my word that I forgot was autophagy. So I had to get that out there. So I can tell a story that I think is an interesting story. And I wouldn't have put it together until just now. I wouldn't have probably used the story, but it's such a great story that I had a client. She was a young client. She was 17, 18 years old. And she was really tall, but lean. I bet she was 5'6" and 90 pounds. She was breaking out, depression, all of these things that she's not a child, but a kid should not be dealing with. It was really hard on her. She was really frustrated. She had lots of anxiety. And so her mom came to me, and I don't know if I said this, but she was in Mexico. So the food in Mexico historically is amazing food, but now it's still, it's the flour tortillas and the corn tortillas. And it's kind of like, it's some of it's healthy, some of it not so much. And so what we ended up doing, a huge part of what I do is I run labs, and it helps me understand the body. This is how I love hearing or seeing the body talk to us, because it's given me answers on a piece of paper. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's so cool. But we needed to run labs on her. But what we did first, and this is, such a beautiful story about, again, the language of food and how food can impact us so deeply. But in that time when we were waiting on the lab reports to come back, we took out the 5 big foods that tend to cause sensitivity. So it's gluten, eggs, dairy, soy. Why am I missing one? Gluten, eggs, dairy, soy. Well, it's wheat. Anyway, I'm not doing well today. Anyway, so it's so frustrating sometimes. So we took all 5 of these things out of her diet, and I think it was within 2 weeks. Like when we had her lab review, her face was clearing up. She was feeling better. Her anxiety was gone. Her depression was gone. I mean, she was suicidal. So it was really an intense situation. And it's all because her body was reacting. She was having this massive immune response to the food she was taking in. Why? So there probably was more to it, but what and we had more work to do. So leaky gut, microbes that we have to deal with, right, that are creating a pretty serious inflammatory response. But it was such a huge change in such a short amount of time. The coolest thing about it is when we got our labs back, we did some genetic testing on her where we can look at variants that have the potential, and that's kind of the key word, it's potential to create these conditions, right? So if you you have the potential for an autoimmune condition, doesn't mean you have to have it'll happen. But if you treat your body well, treat your body like the miracle that it is, then probably you can stave off the possibility that you develop an autoimmune condition. That's what we did. She could have had autoimmune conditions. She was super prone to celiac disease. So taking out all of these foods and then seeing the major difference that it made for her, and then seeing it in all her labs, plus all of these things were making her super nutrient deficient. We literally have changed her epigenome. So she does not, as long as she keeps moving in the direction she's moving, so she doesn't develop this autoimmune condition, which an epigenome, that's how we talk about the generational health, is because her health today, being 18, she changed her health. She is setting herself up for healthy family, and that then will go on for generations. So the data shows 7 generations. It's fascinating and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean 7 generations? Like it'll probably keep it?
So we have the ability to set up the health, my health today, if I were childbearing, but my health today has the ability to impact, due to epigenetics, 7 generations ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
At baby in belly, or just changing the cycle after your
Changing the
children?
cycle. So
Okay.
prior to baby in belly. So once baby is in your belly, the variants are, everything's already there, right? The
Yeah.
baby is being developed with what you already have. So if we kept her from developing symptoms from this autoimmune condition that she could have had that she didn't have, right? Because we tested her, she could have had this. Could it possibly be, it is amazing, could it possibly be that for generations, maybe that potential becomes less and less and less? And
Wow.
so that is what's fascinating. And it's not just food. This is sleep. It's how we experience life. It's relationships. It's movement, too much or too little. It's the toxins. We talk about the toxins in our food, but the toxins in our environment, the toxins that we we put on our skin. We think we're doing great things by putting facial moisturizers on and perfumes, and these things are, for the most part, incredibly toxic, and they have an effect on our epigenome, which is what impacts gene expression.
Is some of what we are talking about right now this preconception planning that you're talking about, or is this two totally different subjects?
Yes. So
Is it? Okay.
it is. And this is how it all sort of came together for me, because I from undergrad school, have been fascinated with the miracle of creation, right? And how cool it is that two people can come together and create another little person or animals or whatever it is. It's just this beautiful, coolest thing ever. And so as I've gone through the years, and then going to nutrition school, and then learning the language of food, and then learning about epigenetics, which it's like the language of food and epigenetics, those are the things that just went, this is my world and this is my thing, because it's so fascinating, the power that we have as individuals to create our own health, or, as I said a little while ago, our own dis-ease. So I love bringing the awareness of the accountability of it, which can be hard, right? But it also it puts the power in my hands. It's all about me and my decisions. It's nobody else, right? So taking all of that and sort of putting it together, and helping to bring the awareness that whether you're dealing with symptoms or not dealing with symptoms, and you just want to be prepared, which is great, it's taking that time. Ideally, is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? It kind of depends on your health status and what's going on. But taking that time to say, okay, I'm going to go within, and I'm going to prepare my body. Same with the spouse. I'm going to prepare my body, and I'm going to get as healthy as I can. And I'm going to be super aware about what's going in, what's going on, and start to mitigate, eliminate symptoms the best we can, get as healthy as possible, because then you're setting yourself up for a healthy pregnancy, a healthy baby, and then of course, healthy generations. And what the data shows, which I love also, is that 5 lifestyle changes can decrease negative outcomes by 80%. And where we are right now, we have fertility issues with women, fertility issues with men. There's a stat, and I never get it right, but I think in the last 60 years, men's fertility rates have dropped by 50%.
Wow.
I mean, incredible. This is incredible stuff. And
you're saying that this is food. A lot of it.
Yes, a lot of it is food, but a lot of it is everything about our lifestyle. But yes, food is huge, and food is my thing,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you read the comment?
Is it okay to read out loud? Okay. I was diagnosed with alopecia, which is an autoimmune disorder which causes my hair follicles to stop growing. I would love to connect to see what benefits are available for me. That is a tough one. I deal a lot with autoimmune conditions, and there are a lot of them out there that are really, really tricky. I mean, I think most of them are pretty tricky, but are there ways of of reversing it, I honestly don't know. I've not seen anything, but I think I'm pretty well connected, and always love looking into understanding what we can do. So just briefly, autoimmune conditions stem from the gut. There's a leaky gut issue, but the biggest thing about functional nutrition, functional medicine, is digging deep, asking the question why. We don't just have leaky gut because we have leaky gut. There's something else going on. There is an exposure, whether it's microbes, there's an exposure maybe to mycotoxins, which is mold, be it from food or from environment. There's exposure to heavy metals. There's exposure to toxicants in the environment, glyphosate, which is Roundup, and then all of the other amazing and horrible toxins that are out there. So I think the biggest thing when it comes to a situation like this, let's look at why this might be happening. Another thing to keep in mind is one autoimmune condition increases the potential for more autoimmune conditions, especially with women as our hormones are fluctuating, whether it's when we're young or when we're pregnant or when we're aging and moving through perimenopause and menopause. Those hormone fluctuations really can trigger more autoimmune conditions. So we want to do our best to clean up whatever happens. So let's look at the heavy metals. Let's look at the toxicants. Let's look at the gut and the microbiome to understand, are there pathogens that triggered it? What is it that triggered it? Epigenetically, there was something there that showed the potential, but something triggered it, right? It's environment. Something triggered it to make it happen. So what can we do to, at the very minimum, keep more of them from jumping up and kicking us in the teeth?
Yeah. And this is so interesting as far as once you have one, that there's a possibility of getting others.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why we want to, it's why we really want to learn and dig. We don't want to just manage. We want to understand why, so we can keep it from happening again.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about gut dysfunction? Because I think that, first of all, I don't really entirely know what that means. So my question might not be completely aligned. However, I'm assuming it's just stomach issues. I do think that is a huge issue with humans, and we just chalk it up to like, I have a stomach ache, I'm bloated, I have diarrhea, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not connecting our food to the ailment. So can you talk a little bit on gut dysfunction?
Yeah. And here's what's fun, because I'll throw you for a little bit of a loop. So gut dysfunction, yes, it's anything that's going on. It can be the heartburn. It can be all of the stuff, right? Gut dysfunction can also cause anxiety, depression, joint pain, brain fog, right? So we have the vagus nerve that connects our brain and our gut. So we hear, I think more often these days, but how there's that connection, there's the gut-brain connection, and how the gut is the second brain. Well, is it the same thing? Potentially, right? So they are connected, and it's our microbiome speaks to our brain, and there is, I think it's 90% of the serotonin, which is our happy neurotransmitter, is produced in the gut. So it's this really cool thing that it's so connected, as well as the whole body is very connected. So keeping that in mind, we're not disconnected people, right? We're very connected. But gut dysfunction occurs, again, if we were to sort of, generally speaking, you ask the questions why. Well, it goes back to environment, right? Whether it's internal environment or external environment. What is it that has triggered this dysfunction? Because there's something. It's not just life. It's not just because you have IBS, which is a very stupid general term. It's not, it's all of these things that we're told, because if we don't have answers, we have to give it a name. Okay, well, it's just IBS, which is silly. So to get kind of down to the nitty gritty of it, we have a chemical called zonulin. And zonulin's in the gut. Well, it's actually all over the body. So you can look at the gut lining. And you can look at the cardiovascular system lining, the brain lining, right? It's everything. And so this zonulin is normal and natural. It goes up and it goes down, tends to go up in pregnant women. And so it pulls the cells apart in that lining. And so and I don't know why it does it in pregnant women. I think it has something, and in times of starvation, I think it has something to do with that, and something that's very, old, but there's a reason for it. Where the problem comes in is when zonulin stays elevated, and zonulin tends to go up by alcohol, drugs, gluten, dairy, things that the body's sensitive to. And when it stays elevated and it's constantly pulled apart, then there are products, things, food, microbes, yeast that get through that lining and into the bloodstream. And the body's like, whoa, I don't know what this is, but it's not supposed to be here. So I am going to attack it, right? So it creates this massive inflammatory response. What happens then is that's kind of when we start to see, that autoimmune conditions can develop, because you have this constant inflammatory response and this constant elevated zonulin, this constant leaky gut, and the body's fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And then over time just develops this dysfunction, right? The antibodies kind of go crazy and start to attack, say, your thyroid tissue, which is Hashimoto's, or, brain tissue, or whatever the case may be. So we want to nip it in the bud and know that it's not normal to have to always know where a bathroom is. This is something that I see a lot. People will spend their lives going, okay, I can go here as long as I know where the bathroom is. And it's heartbreaking, right? It's also not normal to not go to the bathroom for more than a day. I have people who are like, oh, it's been 2 days, it's been 5 days, it's been 7 days. And my heart aches, because it's so incredibly toxic, and we have to get that stuff out. And there's great ways of doing it. We just gotta know what to do.
Yeah, I actually knew somebody whose husband died, and he hadn't gone to the bathroom for like 9 days. It might have even been more. And he died because poop was backed up. And they said that it actually came back up or something. And at the death, it pushed back up and was coming out of his mouth. Wow. At the end. It might have even been more days than that. But he refused to go to the doctor. Yeah, and he was young. He was in his 50s.
So I want to say this real quick. Going to the doctor is very important, especially when it's very acute, right? But if it's a chronic situation, just putting you on laxatives is not the answer. So I want to make sure people hear that, because so often there are microbial changes that can create either diarrhea or constipation, or both, kind of back and forth. And so kind of, again, always ask why. I still ask why, and I still learn that we can go deeper and deeper and deeper, right? But if that is a situation and your doctor just says, well, let's just put you on this drug or this, whatever it might be, make sure that you're finding someone who's going to help you dig for the answers, because covering up symptoms is not digging for the answers, is not finding the answers, is not helping you in most cases.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what we've been taught, though.
Yeah, it is.
With everything. I mean, even a common cold.
Yeah.
Just to take, which I didn't even know until I was in my late 30s, that cough suppressant doesn't even cure the cough. It just suppresses it. Mm-hmm. Your body cures the cough. I didn't even know that. I thought it was got to take cough medicine to get better. Mm-hmm. And then that's not even what it does. It just suppresses it. Mm-hmm. So it's not so ridiculous. But your body actually does it its own in 7 to 10 days.
How beautiful is it, the amazing intelligence of the body? It goes so that if we're coughing, there's a reason. We're trying to get stuff out of the body. The body knows it's got to get whatever out. And the fever, we are constantly suppressing fevers. We have this fear of fever for children. We have a fear of fever for ourselves. We can't get it to a certain high, temperature. And sometimes it's true. Yes, we want to be very careful. But a fever is necessary. A fever is what fights microbes. A fever is what helps us get rid of whatever is making us sick. And if we are suppressing our fever, and it's hard, it sucks because it causes headaches and all the things. I mean, fevers are not fun. But when we can allow it to happen, it's so much better for the body to do what it knows it's supposed to do and allow it to move through the process. And I think it makes our immune system stronger. It's just better for us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When my son is 19. So he was born 19 years ago. And when I was raised in a medicine world. So cough syrup and Crest and Tums and all of nothing, not like overly. I mean, my mom wasn't like crazy. Like some moms I hear are just like all the time pushing it. But like my mom would just give us stuff. We have a cough, we have a sore throat, we have a headache, you'd get stuff. Nothing overly dramatic. But anyways, when I had my son, his father was raised the exact opposite. So like never went to the doctor, never got any shots, never any medicine, no nothing. So we have these two people raising this child.
Yeah.
And it's not like we planned it. It was a oops, pregnancy. But my son had a fever when he was a baby, like just out of my vagina baby. And I don't remember how high it was, but it was over 100. He was crying.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, first of all, give him crushed. I called my mom. She's like, crush up just a little bit, not a whole little aspirin, the little pink ones that they give you when you're a kid, but like a little one, just crush it up and just put it on his tongue. That's what my mom's telling me. His mom is telling him to dunk him in a cold bath.
Yeah.
So, he's the man. So not that but the way that I was raised, the man has the word back then, not so much anymore. But anyways, so my little baby is getting dunked in and out of a bath, screaming, crying at the top of his lungs, butt naked. I'm crying in the living room, just having total mental breakdown about how my baby is going to die. His poor father was probably like, oh my God. But it came down all by itself. Like within an hour or so of him just dunking and then bringing out and like consoling and then dunking and then for probably about an hour, but would keep him in the water for like 30 seconds or so and then pull him out. But to your point, the body took care of it.
Yeah. It will most of the time. I mean, acute care in our country is awesome, right? If I have a broken bone, if I'm acutely ill, then that's great. But we do need to take a step back and say, is this something that I really need to go get medicine for? Or can I let the body take care of it? Or do I just need to understand it and address it?
Absolutely. Well, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I so appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your awesomeness with us, insights. We have a ton of people watching live. They're obviously resonating with all the goodness that you're sharing. Can you do me a huge favor and tell us exactly what you do, exactly who you help? Who should be reaching out to you?
So yes. So I work mostly with women. Doesn't mean only women. I do have a handful of male clients, but I think it's just kind of the way that it goes, right? Women tend to be more interested in this kind of thing than I think a lot of men do. And so I work with women. I would say I have expanded into the preconception planning. And so that's women, that's couples, that's those who want to take that time to prepare. But, historically, so much of what I've done is GI dysfunction, autoimmune disease, men and women of any age. I don't usually work with kiddos, but that 18 and on up to, I have an 85-year-old, then people will come for cardiovascular issues. I could do another show on cholesterol all day long. That would be an awesome one. But, cardiovascular issues and blood sugar balance and that kind of thing. So it really is a little bit all over the board, but what's new is the preconception planning, because I am able to bring all of these things that I love with the fertility and the awareness of the amount of power that we have and the accountability that we have, and, a healthy future. I mean, how cool is that, to know that I can create the health of the future? I mean, totally. It's amazing. Yeah.
Totally. Wow. That is very impactful, because it's like compounding.
Yes. Yeah. This is what I think is cool, because when we're sitting in this place, especially, with so much of what has happened over the last couple of years, I don't like talking about it anymore, but all of these things, we're sitting in a place of fear and frustration and dysfunction and not understanding. And, as much as we know as a society and as a medical society, we keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. Some things are better, but some things are worse, and so the fact that if we take time today to prepare, that we can change the trajectory as an individual. I think sometimes we think, I'm just me, I can't do anything. The individual has the ability to change the trajectory of health for hundreds of years. It's beautiful.
So stinking cool. For those that want to follow you on social media, where do you predominantly hang out?
Oh, goodness. So Facebook, Instagram. I'm always working to get better at those things. LinkedIn. So those are probably the three main ones that I'm on. But you'll find me in some of the other places. But it's Taste Life Nutrition everywhere. The website, the socials, all of the things. And then, of course, I hope this is okay, I've got the radio show. It's just Taste Life Nutrition Radio, and then it's Taste Life Nutrition Podcast. And I'm excited to have you on here in, I think, a few weeks. So that's going to be super fun. But I love it to pieces, because just we're getting the cool things that people do out into the world, and it's super fun.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been an absolute delight. I would love to have you back on to talk about cholesterol. I think that would be absolutely fabulous. And I know that just by the amount of listeners we have listening live throughout all of our platforms, we do run live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I thank you so much for being here. For those that resonated with Nikki and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure you connect with her. Her website is tastelifenutrition.com, and she can be found on Facebook and Insta primarily, also LinkedIn under Taste Life Nutrition. So make sure you follow her and all the awesome content that she puts out. I know I follow her and I love it. We love to make sure that we connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. Any closing thoughts, Nikki, as we close up?
I don't think so. Thank you. I just appreciate, the platform to be able to sit and chat with people. And I love being able to answer questions. That's one of my favorite things. And so I just love to talk about it. So thank you for letting me talk.
Yes. Anytime. Thank you so much. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you, Nikki, for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation. You will find Nikki in there also, where we continue to lift up each other every step of the way. Until next time, do something awesome today.